Hey there, and welcome to the channel. My name is John, and compared to those around me, my friends, my family, and even to my little girl, 18 months old, I'm the youngest American in the family. If you're unfamiliar with the channel, or it's your first time here, so a little bit of quick history. I'm a full-time engineer, part-time photographer, videographer, and YouTuber. I live in the United States with my family. There are already so many videos out there about the American Civic Citizenship Test. I'm not gonna waste your time on that today. You can just go watch those. Today in this video, I'm gonna share with you about my personal experience about how I prepare and how I pass the citizenship interview exam. So I was in the United States for 18 years before I was able to take my citizenship test. I'm not gonna bore you with that story either. I have a video about that and I'll link below and I'll link up here and you just go watch it. I'm going to focus strictly on my citizenship interview test today. So on the test, there are 4 sections that you're supposed to prepare for. The civics test, the reading, the writing, and the tell the truth and 400 part of the exam. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos out there that go over the test, review the 100 questions, and so you really shouldn't have issues with that if you study. But I did 2 things to study for my exam. First, I went on the US CIS website and printed out the 100 questions that I'm supposed to study. And I just studied that every night for a few minutes. The answers for those are already out there if you don't know the answers. And there are 3 or 4 or 5 questions in there that are somewhat specific to your state. Just be sure you get that correctly. Also, on their website, they have tests, sample tests that you can take. And so I took those every week or so just to cycle through, and that's how I studied for my exam. The second thing I did, which I would totally recommend, is if you're driving, if you have nothing to do, is to go on and find these YouTube videos that covers the 100 questions and just go through them. Just listen to them, listen to the pace, listen to the words, and the biggest thing is it randomizes the question. For me, it randomizes the question and it allows me to not memorize the answer, but really listen to the questions and understand the questions and know the answers. It personally was really helpful for me to listen to these videos because it allowed me to listen and hear the pace of how the interviewers are gonna phrase the questions. It jumps around a little bit, which randomizes the question, so I can't memorize it, like I already mentioned. As opposed to if I just go through question by question on the 100 question sheet. It was a little monotonous because they were talking so slow. And I understand why. They were talking to non-native English speakers, which I'm not a native speaker, but I grew up in America basically, so I have a grasp of the language pretty strong, pretty well. So I either listened to these videos at full speed so I could really grasp the question and get used to it, or I would listen to the slower videos at 2 times the speed just to get through the questions at a decent amount of time. Personally, of the 4 that I mentioned, the reading and the writing were really not a problem for me because, as I mentioned, I grew up here in America. I went to school here, so I have a grasp of the language very well. Plus, the questions that they read to you and the questions that they want you to read back to them are very simple, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. Well, it's not a problem for me, but if it was for you, I would try to watch these videos online about those statements, and maybe if you get lucky, it would be a repeated one. A question would be, where is the Statue of Liberty? So where is the Statue of Liberty? 6 words. And then what they read back to you for you to write would be, the Statue of Liberty is in New York. So very short, but you have to know how to write all of that and hear it at a normal pace. They want for you to be able to understand the language, read and write before they allow you to move into the United States. And that way you can support yourself or communicate if needed. Lastly, it's the N400 section, which for me was the most difficult part. The reason being is there was so much stuff in the N400 for me. It focuses on your history of living in the United States. Did you have any trouble with the police? Did you have a ticket? Were you ever a part of any organizations such as communism or terrorism? Did you pay your taxes? Did you ever vote illegally? because you're not an American citizen, you're not supposed to vote. So if you vote, then you voted illegally. Most of it, they just want to know, actually to confirm, because they already know the questions they're gonna ask you if you are telling the truth. Because if you're not, then they would say, what else aren't you telling me? The biggest part for me that I was most concerned about was about my history in the United States, because it's very different from everyone else. I came into the United States at such a young age, but I did not leave the country for a long time. The biggest part of this is the dates for me. The dates started running together and I started, getting mixed up. But when did I come to the United States? When did I get married? Which house did I live in from what time to what time? And stuff like that. So that's what I focus on most of the time. As long as you accurately and truthfully fill out your paperwork, you have nothing to worry about. What you should worry about, though, are the yes and no questions that they ask you. The biggest part of that is to understand the vocabularies that they are asking. Do you know what those are? What is a ticket? What is to vote means? What does communism means? What does terrorist mean? Reason being is, if you don't really understand these vocabularies, how do you know what you're answering yes or no to, right? But when my interviewer, the officer, started speaking to me, she got an idea that I do handle the language well. I understand the language, I have a grasp of it. And so I know what these words are, so she didn't really question me on that. But a lot of people who struggle a little bit, they would kind of press you on that. So just know your vocabularies. Funny story is, there was a question about if I ever been a part of a gang. And she said, well, you don't look like it, so I'm not even gonna ask you that. I said, well, thank you so much. So in short, for me to pass my test, or for you to pass your test, one, know the 100 civic questions. There's really no excuse there, right? Then know to read and to write. Just practice the basics. And if you are watching this video and you understand this video, then you are halfway there. Now you just gotta write it down. And lastly, be truthful on your N400 paperwork. Fill it out correctly, accurately, and just know your dates. Know when you've been in the United States, know when you leave the United States. They didn't really question me on that either because I never left. But from the sample videos that I watched, a lot of people got questions about those because they left the country for so long. And the rule is you're not supposed to leave the country for more than 6 months while you're on your green card. So just keep that in mind. And lastly, good luck. If you have any experience, any comments, leave them down below. I would love to hear them and share with others. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button because it really helps, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.